What is up, everybody? This is a special edition of Inside Out Live, and we just want to give you guys a little bit of content in this in-between week. So today we're going to be doing a Q&A with some college students, and they're just going to be talking to you guys and help you guys live your best life with God at the center. So I want you guys to just give them all of your attention, and I'll see you guys later.
Awesome. So today we got a couple people here for just another installment of Inside Out Live, but it's going to be a unique version of it. We're going to have three people just answer some questions about some of the topics we've been talking about and otherwise. Let's go ahead and introduce our friends. So let's start with Katie.
Hi guys, I just graduated actually, so I finished up at the University of Florida. I am home in Jacksonville, and yeah, I'm just hanging out trying to get through this whole quarantine thing.
Awesome. Let's move to Carly.
Hi, I'm Carly. I guess I'm a junior at University of Florida, but I live in Georgia, so that's where I've been hanging out during quarantine, and that's me.
Awesome. And we'll move over to Drew.
Hey, I'm Drew. I don't go to school, and I didn't graduate from school, but I do I do live here in town in Gainesville, and I love Anthem. I love working with the students, and I know like some of you guys don't know, but I'm really happy to be here today.
Absolutely. I'm JC. I'm the student director. I didn't say that beforehand, but I'm just excited to be here with you guys on either YouTube or Instagram. Awesome. Well, let's start with the first question that we got, which came in is, how do you feel about your year so far? And gut reaction, what would make it better? Katie, to you.
So I definitely feel like this year has been a little bit different than I envisioned. Being a senior and graduating, I definitely thought that there were going to be some things that went along with that were going to be a little bit different just in terms of graduation, kind of wrapping up my year, all of that. I really started off the year pretty well. My gut reaction is that things would be better if sports were happening. I work in the sports world. I love watching sports. I think everyone is missing that right now. Everything about the sports world is kind of on a freeze if that's not hiring, live production, all that. So it definitely went from like 100 to 0 really, really quick when sports were like, we're not happening anymore. So I went from like being busy every single day, every single night to just kind of doing nothing. So I definitely think gut reaction would be, that would definitely make my life a little bit better right now.
That's fair. Carly, what you got?
Honestly, same. Start out the year strong, loving it, and then all of a sudden I'm back home early. But so that's everybody, and I think looking at the year differently, and that's been good. But honestly, it stinks, and it's okay to accept that, but also accept it, move on, and be positive. And so, yeah, I guess gut reaction is that, the world gets healthy again and we can all have a good time.
Love it. What do you think, Drew?
Yeah, I mean, was definitely thinking the year was not going to go the way it has gone. I've had some cool opportunities this year, even in spite of everything. I'm a big, people person, and my friends are super important to me. So this has been especially hard for me because I only see my roommate and a couple, 2 or 3 friends that I go see, every few days, so we keep each other sane. But I have such a small group compared to my normal friends, and I can't hug anyone, which is my least favorite thing. Is hugging people is my favorite thing. So been kind of sad about that. And something that would make it better would be being able to see my friends and hug them.
Yeah, that's fair. We're going to jump into, we're actually going to jump to the last question. I'm going to surprise this on them just first to start. What's something during this season that you just can't let go of? What's something, and this is going to Carly first. So what's something in this season you just can't let go of?
Mine is Netflix overall. I think I started out quarantine strong, went right through All-American, Outer Banks came out, hopped right on that train. I've been watching The Office over and over again. I watched the What If, the Never Have I Ever. I watched Once Upon a Time. That's a really good one that no one really knows about, so highly
Oh
recommend.
yeah, that is a really good one.
But yeah, there's just so many shows. I watched Soul Surfer this morning. That's a hidden gem, like just been a lot of Netflix for me.
Dang, she is on Netflix
Yeah.
hard.
That's impressive. Drew, what you got? What's something you just can't let go of right now?
I can't let go of. So right before quarantine started, me and my friends started like working out almost every day, like 6 days a week, and it's been really the thing that is holding me together because it's very regimented. It's very has been throughout the whole quarantine. And if I didn't have that, I would have gone crazy. And that is what I can't let go of, and I don't want to let go of it.
That's awesome. Katie, you're up.
I would definitely say that my weakness or thing that I can't get away from is online shopping. I'm a sucker for Instagram ads, Facebook ads.
They're so good. They're so targeted.
They know me. They must have so much data on me because they throw something my way, and I'm like, that is
You're like, oh, awesome.
So that I was like, I mean, I'm home, and so I'm not spending any money on food or going with my friends anywhere, going to the movies, going to get dinner, whatever it is. And so I'm like, oh yeah, I can get that for my future apartment that I don't even know where I'm going to live next year. That's great. I need it.
Totally makes sense.
That's awesome.
Oh man.
Yeah, Instagram ads, they're
They'll
tricky.
get you.
It's bad. I've bought a couple things off Instagram during this time as well.
A couple.
It's been a couple. All right, so let's go into the next questions that we got. So this is kind of based off of the series we've been going through, but how are you leveraging this time spent or still spending in isolation to learn more about yourself and more about God? What does that look like for you? We're going to Drew. Yep, Drew.
I definitely think it's, for me specifically, and I'm sure everyone has and is having a different experience with this, but I have really been made aware of the fact that everyone, probably goes throughout their days and has very different things that they are very comfortable with and not comfortable with. And I realize I am in a season where I'm not super comfortable with how the world is because it's not what I normally like. But I've discovered that I know I have a lot of friends who are actually really preferring how little socially expected interactions are right now, because a lot of people don't like to be around a lot of people. And most of the time, those people are, guilted or expected to go do things even when it's not really what they want to do. And right now it's flipped. So those people are getting a really well-needed rest time. And I'm trying to be thankful for that for them, even when it's not something I like.
Yeah, that's good. That's super good. Either of you want to add to that?
I can kind of go off that. I'm the same way. I'm very extroverted. I've always wanted something to do, and never get bored of being around people. And I think it's forced me to say, Carly, no, you're actually gonna sit here and eat breakfast. You're not gonna go anywhere. And that has been, God put me in time out for a second. He said, Carly, you're gonna just sit and be. And that's something I would never do if I didn't have to do it. And I think it's given me a much needed rest that I didn't even really know that I needed. I think I would most likely say, I wasn't even really aware that I needed to give myself more time to sleep in every once in a while and eat a good meal and work out and things like that. So that's been nice.
Yeah, I definitely think that people at first were kind of I'm not sure what to do with this. And now it's kind of oh, maybe I can use this to be beneficial or to be productive. I do think, though, that there's a lot of struggle with, at least in my family, with anxiety and with just kind of not knowing what to do with this time. So I do think that something I've learned a lot just with my little sister being home and my dad being really on edge about just kind of everything that's going on. He reads all day and he watches the news all day and all of that. And I think for me, it's kind of been I need to just take a break from that and just kind of focus on the fact that there's nothing I can do about it. And I can't go see my friends. Like, my friends are still kind of going to Gainesville, and my dad's like, no, I don't feel comfortable with you doing that. And so I think for me, it's been like, how can I use this time to get better at what I'm doing, to take a second and just kind of realize that this is probably the last time I'll be able to be with my family for 3 months or 4 months or however long this lasts, and just kind of taking that outlook on it. And I know for a lot of graduating seniors, it's the last time that you're going to be with your family and before you go to school, and realize how important that is. And so I think if you can kind of picture it that way and realize that it's kind of probably one of the last times we can all not be busy, it can be a really beneficial time to just spend some time with family, connect with friends that you haven't talked to in a long time, just kind of find some of those things that you don't normally have the time or leeway to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know as an introvert, I've been introverted out as well. So I'm like, I need people again. I'm like starting to freak out a little bit. And I've had to like basically start journaling all over again and just like put down my emotions and my thoughts on a page and be like, okay, it's okay to not to be around people. And I still live with a lot of people in my house. So even during
you too.
Yeah, a couple people in my house. So, all right, next question. What truths about God or about the world have been giving you hope in the midst of uncertainty, and why? Katie, we're going to throw this to you.
So I think kind of similar, building off what I was just saying about kind of taking a second for yourself. I think what I've had to remember is that, one of the biggest reasons I have faith is that it's not about my timing. And so while there are things that I expected to be doing this summer, there are steps in my life that I expected to take, because those are just kind of the natural progression that society places on you, or your parents or school or whatever it is. And just kind of accepting the fact that all of this is going to come to an end. And when it does, it will be on God's timing, not on ours. And so while some of us will feel the need to kind of rush into that, I think I've found a lot of peace in knowing that that time will come and those opportunities will open up. And when people are being safe, that's when it will be okay for us to kind of extend our bubble, like my dad likes to say, and to kind of start letting people into our bubble. And whatever that looks like for you and your family, everyone's doing it differently. But I think that something I've really had to rely on is just knowing that it's going to happen in not my timing, and just kind of being okay with that, because I like to find a lot of control in what I'm doing. And, I went to school for 4 years, and I earned a lot of experience in my job field. And for seniors, that's, you went to school for 4 years and now you're expecting to get away from your parents, not to be stuck in a house with them 24/7, And so that looks different for everybody. But I think if we can all kind of remember that and realize that we hopefully will learn something from all of this, and we hopefully will all be safe. And so then if we can do that and we can trust in God that this time is something to build off of, then it actually can be a really good thing to kind of have some of that break that we were all talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Does anyone want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think
Katie nailed
one
it.
thing, yeah, really, I was like, really nailed that one. I really like, one thing that I've been really looking into is just like coronavirus specifically, is like, I hopefully want to be a nurse one day. And so looking at like what the healthcare workers are having to go through and like the patients of COVID-19, like it's like pretty bad. But looking at the way that like just humanity in general, like not having, just as being humans, the way that like the healthcare field just wants to like help, and they're genuinely out there like putting themselves in the line of fire, which is like kind of what God asks us to do every day. And whether that means like making sure your next door neighbor like has toilet paper, like that can be that little, but just like a huge, like a humongous thing. And so I've loved watching that. Yeah, humanity's had some downfalls in this, but we've also had some like pretty big, wins. And so that's been, I think, really cool to watch. And like with what you were saying about God's timing, like none of those amazing incidences would have happened if we didn't have like a timing like this. So I think that's been really cool to learn from.
That's awesome, Carly. Well, Carly, I'm going to come back to you with one question. What's been music or worship, music, worship, or otherwise has been giving you a little bit of peace or a sense of connection to God during this time?
I think the first thing in this time that I had to realize, and I was talking to some girls in my small group about this, is when I'm watching church on my laptop and it's worship, I just cannot get into it. The music is the lights aren't down. I'm just like watching these people sing is like how I feel. Like, and I always want to fast forward through it, not because it's not great, but because I'm just watching these people sing. And so I've had to learn whether that means I need to go on a drive and listen to worship music and just like really jam out on my own, or if I need to literally turn the lights off in my room and like have a jam session and a dance party, like that's what I need to do. But I've definitely had to adjust that. And I think with the adjustment, it has been helpful because I just can't sit there and watch them sing. So that's been, I think, something that I've been doing. It's been helping me give like that connection to God, because that's where I, like in worship, that's where I feel it most, I would say. And so just making myself, even though it's not the traditional on Sunday I get to do that, I have to make my own time for it. But that's been also a really cool pattern that I've been getting into.
Has there been like a song or an album that you've just been vibing?
I don't think so. Just nothing, not particular. Yeah, not one particular I can think of. Just all of them.
No, I was just curious. And how about you two? Any music or worship music or otherwise that's been helping you connect with God during this time?
I am a big fan of Need to Breathe. They're like,
Yes.
they have a song called Let's Stay Home Tonight, which is really more of like, in my opinion, like a relationshipy song, but if you can view it in a different way, I'm like totally obsessed with it. They're so awesome, that whole album. And then I also really love Hillsong United. I was out in LA last summer and they have a Hillsong out in LA. And so I got to go and like see some of their worship in person. And so I am like have a whole other personal connection to like Another in the Fire and like Whole Heart, I think is what it's called. Those two are like definitely things that just bring peace. And I think it's actually been really cool to like view music and some of these worship songs in a time of like frustration or like disconnect from church, you know, because you're not there. I mean, I don't mean disconnect from God, but like disconnect from being in the place, because like Carly said, you have to find kind of a different way to view it and a different way to connect to it. And so I think sometimes we listen to worship music and we're in a really good place and we're like, oh yeah, this is great. And then, you know, it can also be a really big comfort, and it can be something that you seek and have by yourself and on your own time. And so I think it's really important to kind of find that connection with it, because you won't always have time to go on Sunday morning, or you won't always have a church that you love. Like in Gainesville, I didn't find Anthem till my sophomore year. So like I was listening to worship music by myself because I knew that was important. So I think it's just been cool to kind of figure out what some of that looks like from home.
Yeah, I love what you kind of pointed out and what Carly said, that like she's had to make it more personal, even though like Sunday mornings are good and like it is what it is, but being able to be like, no, I'm gonna get my own playlist, I'm gonna go to my own place and like personally respond to how God wants me to connect. So that was really great, Carly. I loved that you kind of said it that way and shared it that way. All right, Drew, next one's to you. Get too stressed. What are some things that we can do to act out our faith and help Christians be known for what they're for rather than what they're against?
Ooh, good question.
During this time specifically. During this time specifically.
Oh, right. I mean, there's so much like anxiety and uncertainty and fear and division and any major, you know, cultural or country situation, like a global pandemic, for instance. So there's already so much of that, like those negative or not happy, not freeing emotions going around with everyone. I think a really great way, but also a really simple way to like spread love is just to not be someone who is making people more afraid, not be someone who's making people more uncomfortable, not be someone who is making people feel less valued, less safe, or less able to live their normal life. So whatever that looks like for you with your family specifically, because you're probably with them a lot, with the friends that you do get to see, with your coworkers, if you're an essential worker, like don't be the person who is making their day worse or more stressful. Try and be the person that is making their day better and more optimistic. And that can look like a million things, and just try and figure out what that may look like for you.
It's really good, Drew. Either of you want to add anything to that?
I mean, I think during this time we have like a really cool opportunity to just share like easy resources, and I think it's really easy for you to say like, hey, I'm jumping on this church service, or hey, we listened to this last Sunday, here's a link for you to listen to it, because for a lot of people showing up is harder. And so I know even for Inside Out, that can look like inviting a friend that hasn't been in a while, and it might not be as hard for them to jump on a Zoom call as it is to show up at a place that they're uncomfortable with or have never been to. And so I think that that's just a really cool way to just share the YouTube on your Facebook page and see who is interested. Share it in a group chat. Let them know what you're up to. I think just kind of showing that you're staying connected during this time can be a way that you're showing it's not just something you do on Sundays to see your friends. It's not just something that you've just kind of always done, so you do it because your family makes you go, or that's what people might think. But instead, it's something that you're really pursuing. And so I think that that's just kind of a cool way that everyone has transitioned to this online version, which is so awesome, because now you can share it with whoever, like literally whoever you want. Like you can hear a message and say, oh, that made me think of this person, I'm just going to send it off, even if they don't live in Gainesville anymore. Like it's such an awesome way to just stay connected with people and just kind of say, hey, I heard this and I was thinking of you. Skip to minute 10 and that's when the message starts, and I think you'd love the first 8 minutes. Chances are they're going to listen to the whole thing, and then you've kind of helped someone through something they might be struggling with. So I think that's an easy way to just kind of share what we're about and what we're doing, especially at Anthem.
Yeah, I think something kind of with that is like pick up the phone and call your friends, guys, okay? I know that Netflix is tempting just to stay on it all day, but don't, because I mean, I know
Don't be
for me,
like Carly.
yeah, do not be like me, because I'm not a huge phone person. Like you can literally ask anybody. It takes me a minute to respond. Like I'm not constantly on my phone. But in this time, I can't just go hang out with you for 5 hours and then we can not talk for a day or two because I'm gonna hang out with you again later. Like that isn't gonna come. Mm-hmm. So like for me, the friends who have called me and texted me and like genuinely tried to like hang out over the phone, like those are the people that I know I'm like so excited to see when this is over. And there are people who haven't, and it's kind of shown, okay, like are you really like caring about me? Because it doesn't feel like it. And so make your friends feel like you care about them even when you're not seeing them in person. Like a great analogy is like, just because I don't go to church on Sunday, Jesus is still gonna call me because he always does that. So kind of think about it in that, like just call your friends.
And it'll help you too. It'll be such a release for you.
It's like so great.
How much you miss them until you start talking to them. And
yeah,
it just makes the phone call. That's so true. I love that.
That was super good, Carly.
That was really good.
I love how blunt.
Pick up that phone.
It's one of my favorite qualities. All right, so last question, and none of you got prepared for this. That's fine. But
oh boy,
if you have the attention of high school students, what's like something you wish they knew during this time? Drew, I'm going to go to you.
Something I wish they knew during this time is
soundbite. Like a soundbite, like a tweet. Like
soundbite. Yeah. Realize that every period of your life is temporary, and whether that means that if you're going through a hard thing now, it will pass. But if you're going through a great thing now, like, not a lot of responsibilities being in high school, it will pass too. So take full advantage of it and live it up and soak it up, because it's going to come to an end.
Yeah, that's great. Drew, that's a really great, oh gosh, I wish people would hear that over and over again.
Yeah.
All right, Carly, you're up.
Okay, I can't take credit for this little nugget because it's actually from my co-leader, Jen. But one time she told me that even when like, because like I feel like with the majority of people, like I felt like my life was a nightmare all of a sudden. Like all of a sudden, it all just turned around and it was a nightmare. And I feel like a lot, especially for seniors, like my heart really goes out to them. Like you're about to have a great time and then it turned into a nightmare, and like that's not fun. And sometimes in life you're going through a bad time. In the bad time, you could explain that in paragraphs and paragraphs. There's just a layer and layer of all these things and mixing parts that make it a nightmare. But one day that nightmare is going to turn into one sentence. Like in 10 years, one time we had coronavirus and my high school year got canceled.
Dang,
And then
man,
that's it.
that is good.
Isn't it? Yeah, she's a genius, guys. I'm
Is
telling
that
you. Jen is a
Jen
genius.
Arnold? Is that your co-leader?
Yeah.
She's so awesome.
Carly,
Yeah.
will you say that again for us real quick?
Yes. So every nightmare that has different, parts that overlayer, and there's just a whole big jumble of mess. In 10 years, 5 years, even 3 years sometimes, that whole big mess that you could write a whole long Instagram caption about is going to be one, we had coronavirus and I had to go back home. One day it's not going to be like this whole big mixing, troubling piece.
That's so good. That's so good. Freaking
That was really good. That was way better than mine.
You're up.
Well, that's hard to follow, but but I would say honestly, like I was on a Zoom call. I've been like trying to be on so many Zoom calls with like people in the industry, and one of the biggest things that I've kind of taken away from that is that people that are older than you and or in the workforce or just like your parents' age and all of that, they understand how unique this is. And I hope that you guys do too. And I think that there's so much that's going to come out of this, and that you're going to be able to say like, this is how my high school ended, and this is what I learned from it. And the fact that you're going to be able to help so many students after you through that, and whether that's seniors or whether that's, junior year, you didn't go to your first prom. Well, next year it's going to be that much more unique and that much more fun for you. And so I think that there's a lot we can learn from this, but I hope, and I'm still learning this as well, but like we're a part of something really historical, and like this is hopefully never going to happen again in your lifetime. And so I think the fact that we're all going through this at like a young, very influential time in our lives, it can really teach us a lot about what it looks like moving forward, and like how we can care for people, and what changes we can make in our daily routines that keep people safe and all of that. And so I think just kind of realizing that like this is so unique, and this is something that unfortunately we're going through in a time that we're supposed to be having fun and being with our friends and doing all these new things, but this is going to come to an end, like Drew said. And so I hope that you guys can realize that you're just a part of something really unique, and there's going to be so much benefit to that down the road when you're applying to jobs and you're applying to colleges, and everyone's going to be taking this time into consideration, and the way you react to it can actually do a lot of good for you.
Yeah, it's almost the idea of viewing this moment as either an obstacle or an opportunity, and deciding like how you're gonna view it. No, I love that, Katie. That's super great. I think that's like a really great word for high schoolers, especially seniors, to hear, is that they can leverage this moment and become better through it, or they can let this moment pass them by and they'll see 3 or 4 months that have just disappeared. And I really hope that you guys kind of leverage this moment to, 1, grow closer in your relationship with God, but 2, grow closer in your relationship with like how you view yourself and the people around you and how you view them. I think that that's going to start changing your life as well as the people around you, and including your family, because you've probably been with them for quite a long time. So, well, thank you so much, guys, for being on here. Thank you so much for tuning in to Inside Out on Instagram and YouTube. We're so appreciative that you guys decided to be a part. If you should know people like Katie, Carly, and Drew. You should have people like this in your life. If you don't, man, find them, like get them, or just all text Drew. So
No, not me. Like, don't have people like me in your life. They're great. They're way better than me.
So, but if you don't have people like this, man, I hope you find it. And if you need help, just DM us and we'll see if we can get you connected to other people who are as incredible as Katie, Carly, and Drew. So thank you guys for being on. We really do appreciate it. You guys are incredible.
Thank you, guys. Woo! Inside Out Live.
Well, thank you guys so much for spending some time with us. I hope you guys enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. And if you guys are actually looking to get into a small group, you guys can text your name, your grade, and your gender to this number on the screen. And other than that, we'll see you guys next Sunday on Inside Out Live.